Oh, I
Okay.
got it. And yeah, if you can do it from now on, man, you can drive. Lord knows when I'm driving, there's a higher propensity for details being dropped. Well, ladies, how are you?
Good. Doing okay.
Excellent. So tell me the best thing happening personally and the best thing happening professionally for everybody on the call. And the reason I ask that is it's a hard time in life to see great things. And so it's really, really important that we do that. So let's start there for whoever wants to start.
I can start.
Go for it. Thank you.
So so
And
professionally.
say your name because we're recording.
Oh, sure. This is Mayanna Hoyt Dawson, and I'm with Marvin. I don't know if.
Awesome.
Oh, and here comes another
Excellent.
Marvin teammate, Emily. Best thing professionally is the team that I lead is part of our marketing team. And we are a mixture of two teams, one team from an acquisition and one team that was part of the existing team. And this opportunity that we have to all work remotely is causing us to think maybe in a more sophisticated way about consistent communication and both, we'll say, planned business focused communication, but also personal connection. And it's been really great to see the team connecting. There's been a lot of really, really good connection over the last week or so. I would say one-to-one, but also as a group. And then personally,
love it.
I love to be at home, and being forced to be at home and not having to drive kids around everywhere has been wonderful. And we just had a great weekend where we were hanging around outside and playing with the pets, and just there was no pull to have to do anything else. So that's been
Love
really
it. We lost Emily already. You'll have to ask her what you said to have her step out.
I will definitely take it personally.
Definitely don't. All right, Jess or Celestine?
Yeah, I can go. I think for me, professionally, I have just really enjoyed the adventure of what do we do next? How do we be of better service? And then when we're like, we've done a lot of these community coaching calls, but it's how do we improve these? And then as we were just talking a minute ago, what do we do next? Like, what are some other ways that we can be of service? And I love the execution of these from a logistical standpoint and the details, but I also like the upper level looking down on it. And personally, I had a really great weekend as well, just taking some time to read and journal and spend some quality time with myself. And then also bringing my expertise of using Zoom into some other conversations I was able to have this weekend, which was just a nice way to develop community socially.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Celestine.
The reason I had to resituate, I was on a conference call with a client of mine, and because I teach yoga, this shutdown has been really, it's impacted me quite a lot and really fast. So we've had to go, okay, how can we do virtual? And so one of my clients said, all right, cool, we can do 3 classes a week virtually, and we're figuring out how to do that. So I had just hung up the phone and went, boom, phone needs to get charged. So I had to do some extra shifting around and finding some joy in that. Actually, I kind of like I learned that when I was little. I really liked having limited resources and going, how can I get scrappy with this? And then go, I just did that. Yes. So that's been fun. I think personally, we started a garden in my backyard. So above ground, technically it's square foot gardening. So you don't have to step into the middle. You can actually reach it from any point wherever you are. And I am somebody that's not a big fan of dirt under my fingernails, and dishes are not my favorite thing to do. So to have to shift and to be willing to shift into like hands in the dirt, here we go, and actually being excited about that it's cool. It's a new range of motion.
Range of motion. You even worked in yoga talk onto that. I like it. I like it a lot.
didn't even mean to.
I like it though. That's good. Flexibility. I'll tell you what, if you can be flexible right now, this is an exciting time, as challenging as it is. So I'll go next. My personal best is I have had lots of personal bests, and I'm someone who charges so hard at work that often thinking about personal bests has been in the backseat. Not that they aren't there, it's just top of mind is all the stuff I have to do. I love getting stuff done. And it's been a refreshing change in the last probably 2 weeks for us in our house. My husband's in healthcare. To really be like, wow, I got a whole litany of personal bests, and the business bests are a little more in the back seat. Just because there's lots of them still, but it's just the evening out of that, which I'm appreciating actually. So for me, the personal bests would be, we're cooking from this great cookbook. My staff, Jessica, got to hear all about this morning, and we're vegetarian. And so it's called Thug Kitchen. If you guys do not know about this cookbook, I have to tell you, not only is it one of the most profane books you'll ever read, which makes it funny while you're making a recipe. And I'll just, because we use the word unfuckwithable generously in our world, because that's a trademarked term of mine. There's one recipe we're making, and it's for a particular kind of burrito, but it calls for half a cup of white wine or something while you're cooking. And it says, it talks about putting the stuff together just like any recipe. And then the sixth point, 5, and you're going, well, the recipe's pretty much done. And then 6 says, that bottle of wine, start drinking that fucker right now. Read this thing, and it just comes out of nowhere. So it makes you laugh while you're, and he and she, it's a couple who wrote it, but they insert it in with the ingredients, and they tell you not to worry about certain things when we're not like extremely great cooks. We do a nice job, but we're by no means gourmets. So they do a really good job of like, don't worry about that, worry about this. And then they insert profanity everywhere. So it's just unnerving. Do not let children read this book, or it would be bad parenting, just extremely bad parenting. So that's a good one. And we did a virtual family game night that I have to tell you, I was so excited about, but it turned out so wonderful. We spent about a half hour with our kids. Hey, Karen Bodine, how are you?
Hello, Sue.
Good to see you. We're going to come around to you next. But we spent about a half hour catching up with our family. And then we started playing games, and we went from trivia to Sporkle we then played a mixtape game. And after about 3 hours, we had laughed so hard, but we were tired, and we felt just as connected. And we all said this, we felt just as connected as if we were in person, because Zoom really didn't limit anything. It just changed how we saw each other. And then professionally, I'm excited about figuring problems out. I just had a call. I had taken a sample test of PI, if anyone's done predictive index, and I hadn't done one for years, but the woman and I debriefed today, and I thought it was incredibly accurate, number one. But the fun part about it was, she said, you're someone who thrives in situations like what's happening in the world right now. She said, you like inventing rules, you like adhering to the right ones, but you like making your own up, and you like figuring it out and the challenge of it. She said, you are actually energized probably right now. And I went, that's all true. It's all accurate. So it's nice to know that, in the face of everything that's happening, it doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean it's happy news for me, but the really good news is I don't have to feel guilty or bad that these are situations that I like to problem solve and help people in. So that was very validating. All right, Karen, we're sharing our best personal and best professional news right now.
Okay.
So you gotta start with good news, or you can't get into the real meat of this call, girl.
Yes, good news is I have developed a formula for myself that gets me out of, that has gotten me out of fear, gets me out of fear, because I still go back into fear, but I can get out of it.
We'll want to hear about that later.
Mm-hmm. And what was the second question?
Personal and professional best.
Let's see, professional. Well, I have an idea of, I'm throwing this out there, and a part of me doesn't want to. It's kind of like, what happens if I put it out there?
You have to take action on it. So that sounds
Yeah.
like a go to me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's you know, because I have lived with fear for just all my life, and probably for the last 2.5 years has been debilitating fear. And so to have a formula is like the hugest news, and I think that I've could be a fear coach.
Deep
And
breath.
it kind of feels weird to say it because
I like it.
the fear coach sounds a little bit
What about a
like it
courage
should be,
coach then?
or the fearless,
There you go.
the
Fearless
fearless coach.
courage. Just put it to the positive. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. You're not saying you're coaching people into it, right?
Right, right. Well, it's also nice to have a name that says what you are, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Fearless is pretty good. Make it 2 words.
yeah,
Fearless coach.
yeah.
Double entendre. I love it. Well, you put it out there. Now it's recorded and it's going to be shared with the world. So you better get about that. See how this works?
Yeah.
It's good stuff. All right. Well, since we have a group of ladies on the call today, what had you take time out of your world to say, I want to get on a call today? For what purpose? What were you hoping to hear, get, learn, contribute, etc.? Because there's a reason you're here. I'd like to be able to serve that.
For me, I think it's driven more by curiosity. This is something that our marketing leadership team was just recently availed of, and I'm really mostly curious just to kind of connect and hear how others are processing through this big pivot that we've all
All
had
the
to make.
stuff. Awesome. Well, let's make sure we get into that then. That's fabulous. And mainly in the work area or work, home, and everything?
So work, definitely. I think it's mostly work. Yeah, I know there's that undercurrent for the work that I'm doing of how do you also be a teacher at the same time as you're working at home. But that's more of a fun challenge to tackle for me than it is the biggest. I think the thing that's pulling the most is how do we help on the professional side, how do we help the team navigate through this?
Absolutely. Well, we'll make sure we do that. And it's Mayana, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Celestine.
I got on the call because I was here, well, for a few reasons. Sue coached me long ago to being ontological coach, effectiveness coach, and I really liked that, what was it, 1.5 years or so experience the whole time, and you haven't left my awareness for the last many, many years. And
Scary.
so I was like, Sue has a call. Hell yes, I am there, and we'll do another one. And I felt really encouraged on Friday when I hopped on to the other call. And I was surprised with there have been some really discouraging moments before the Friday call. And for some reason, I just felt a big drain on what I had to offer. And when I left the Friday call, I was like, oh yeah, so much to offer. I was believing a lie before that. So I thought, Monday, yes, please, I'm there.
So anything in particular for today's call you're looking for or you're hoping for, or the space you're in and you want to move to?
Yes. And it's not specific enough yet that I can condense it and share it. So give
All
me
right,
a second.
we'll come back.
It'll get condensed.
We'll come back. You know, intention is 90% of this stuff. So you guys know that. Everyone on this call gets that, or you wouldn't be here. Karen, Jess, either of you?
Inspiration. You know, like, yeah, well, first of all, I want to say I read your articles.
Oh, thank you. Good to know.
Well,
Somebody's reading it. At least reader audience one.
If I didn't, I wouldn't be on the call.
Cool. Cool, cool. Well, glad to hear it.
Yeah. No, I just, I'm looking for things positive.
Okay.
Don't need to know any more statistics and facts about coronavirus. I need to move forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all a little overwhelmed with the information available, and careful what you wish for. We wanted more data. Now it's free. And at times like this, it can be the opposite, where you feel like you're underneath a waterfall, drinking from a fire hose. Jess?
Yeah, for me, I think I'm always curious, excuse me, what businesses and what people are struggling with at their work. Because I work, you know, directly with you, Sue, and doing this amazing work, but our job and our work is about serving others. And so for me, it's helpful to keep my finger on the pulse. What are people struggling with? How can we be a better service? And listening to your questions and your challenges, then I can step away and, with or without Sue, think about what are some other things we can do. How else can we show up and be of service?
Excellent. Celestine, did that buy you enough time?
Yeah. So, getting clearer on offerings and I think it would really be just dissolving the fear around offering it without telling what it is.
Cool. Good, good.
Yeah.
And I think offering is the right thing at this point in history. It's interesting. We were on for people using EOS, if you guys are familiar with that operating system, we do what are called L10 meetings, level 10 meetings. And it means on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10's the best kind of meeting to have. And my team was saying, how do we sell right now? You know, one of my members, and I was saying, I don't think you do. I think it's the worst point in history ever to sell. I think all you can do is offer to help and support and share your goods. And I think when people are ready to buy, whenever that is, you'll be top of mind or you won't. But I think selling at this time would be a mistake. So I think if your gut's telling you that, you know, even offering it's more, who can I serve and how can I help? And I wrote a bunch of questions today for today's blog, because often I write my blogs. I write the daily blog that Karen was talking about. And, you know, we get ahead of ways because some of it's more evergreen, timeless information. But what happens is right now that doesn't do you any good. This isn't evergreen kind of content. The world is at a point where I don't need evergreen. I need just in time, and I need what's today, and people need to talk. And so some of the things I would offer all of you, whether personally or professionally, was, you know, the blog I wrote today that we'll either post tomorrow, probably, I don't know, Jess has to tell me because she's the boss. But, you know, I'll just share some of the questions that are so top of mind and present to me right now that I think every good leader's got to be thinking about for themselves and their teams. And again, this is in writing, so you don't have to capture too much, but it's, you know, the blog is called Tell Them. You know, it's at times like these that we need to laugh, we need to be inspired, we need to find joy and peace and fulfillment in the daily rituals and simplicities of life. So we've got to kind of pare it back to, what are the things I can do, not what I can't or what I'm not able to. Because when you focus on one versus the other, one's going to open doors, the other one's going to shut them. And so we have to be sure we pause long enough from looking at what is happening, because we have to be informed, right? But I have made it just a rule for me based on how I function. I only look at the news at the end of the day. I don't look at it right before bed, but I look at it at the end of the day. So it's an aggregation of that day because I get enough of this with my business owners and clients. I'm pretty up to date. And I don't really care if I have all those statistics because I'm not as analytical as you might be, Karen. And so stats and stuff, my husband's a healthcare professional, so I'm very immersed in what's happening in the hospital system. So I feel like I have a pulse on things, but everybody's got to find that cadence of what normal and good is and a healthy balance. Because I think when we tip to too much or too little, that's where you feel like it's unknown and then you get afraid. So to me, it's what do I need to know to be informed? And we all have to find our own ballast on this. I'm not saying my version is the one you should have. You've got to find yours. But when I do that, and when I do this at the end of the day, I aggregate it with everything I experienced. And then I go, all right, now what can I do about that? And what I'm going to do with my family and my team, and how can I, again, go back to joy and inspiration and peace and fulfillment, because that's who I want to be amidst this. So during your pause, questions you can ask are things like, what can I do? Which is my favorite question right now. What can I do? Because that could be anything from helping with figuring out accessing masks to, oh, I saw a Tim Ferriss article literally on Friday and sent it to my husband and said, there's supposedly a way you can make a ventilator into 5. And he's forwarded it to the VPMA of one of their hospitals because they service many. And he said, this is exactly what we're working on. Thank you. This is really helpful. So who knew Tim Ferriss was going to be a good resource for hospitals? But they're working on it right now, which gave me a ton of hope because I'm like, in Minnesota anyway, we're ahead of the curve. So that's good. That was validating. It was encouraging, but it was a little thing that I could do that I believed helped. Who can I help? That's your next thing, is to look in your circle and in your bigger circle and into your community. So it's like, okay, immediate family, immediate friends, neighborhood, at home. At work, it's your team, your department, the company as a whole, your customers, your suppliers and vendors. You know, we can keep those circles going out because too often we might just look at, well, I'm doing everything I can for my team. Well, what about the next tier and the next tier and the next tier? And so because I'm an EOS implementer and because I do WPO, I spent some quality time while I was doing other things at my home saying, what could I do for these organizations? Not for the clients, not for the people I directly, but how would I help the headquarters? If I was in charge of either, what could I do to help? And it prompted me to write some ideas down, send them their way. Lo and behold, today they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Our leadership team is exhausted. Some of these were helpful, or we want to involve you in some things. That to me is just a way to start to say, it's not just the people I directly impact every day, because it's easy to stay there. Another question, what do I say? What do I say is possible? What do I say to people? How do I say it in the most empowering and forwarding way? How do I find the support and ask for help when I need it? Because so often I'm in a position of supporting others. Where do I go besides my poor husband to say, hey, here's what I need. Here's what I need help with, because I tend to go to those same safe people. This is a time in history where, you know what, we got to get on calls like this and say, I don't know you guys that well, but here's something I could use. Can anybody help me with this? Which is a really vulnerable place to be. So what I really appreciate, Karen, is you getting on and you're right there with us. Your emotions right there. That's a hard thing to do. I think you know I'm a safe person to do it with, but you got these other 3 people, who knows about them, right? But you jumped right in. And I think that's a very real thing, whether you're doing this in a business call or not. People need to have the space right now to have that reality, because great leadership is also allowing people to be right where they are, because you can't go anywhere else till you have where you are. So what do I say? How do I impact that? How do I move people forward? What's working? Again, much harder for people to walk in and go, oh, I'm so inspired by, or, oh, this meme got me out of my own way today. But really, truly focusing on what's working. The more you find incremental, straight up, useful things that are working, the more they multiply. Now, that doesn't mean be in denial about stuff that you have to handle or challenging things, but too often we let that start to take us on a trip. And we've got to be working ever so more diligently in our relationships and in our practices and those tasks to say what is working, even if it's incremental, it's progress. And the permission for people to make mistakes right now, you as well as everyone else. Nobody knows how to do a pandemic. Let's just tell the truth. None of us go, I have plan A, and this is what everyone should be doing. That's just bullshit. You know, so we're all making it up. We're all doing the best that we can. We're all trying to figure it out. And kudos to everybody for diving in and trying to ideate, and for you guys to be on here and be in a community of people going, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm looking for another resource to come back with new ideas for the people I serve and I touch. So being able to find what's working and celebrate that amidst the fact that we're going to screw a bunch of stuff up because we've never done it before. We can write how to survive a pandemic a year from now because we'll be there. We can't write it right now. So we can't look to what's always worked. We have to say, hey, you know what? Today I woke up and we were just on a call. I was on a call with a client and their leadership team for an hour and a half. And they were talking about, I finally found the structure at home that works for me. It took them 2 weeks to get there. They're in New York. So they're like, oh my God, I wake up. And she was talking about her routine. And she said, it honest to God took me 2 weeks. I feel like such a slug. And everybody's going, no one had an expectation, having not worked at home and now having 3 teenagers at home and her husband, that she is going to have that figured out except her. So she felt like she was behind the curve and screwing up all day and all of those things that, you know, Miana, you talked about that, Mayana, you know, that's hard stuff. And the kids are learning how to learn online on top of it. So just set the dominoes up and roll them down. So less pressure, less pressure. One of the big questions I asked one of my clients this last week, and she wrote a really nice note, and I included it on here, which got my brain going, which is, who do I want to be on the other side of this? And that's what I asked her. You got to wake up today every day and say, let that inform who I am today. Because with this kind of a reset, it shapes how people see you. Character is in the difficult times, not in the good times. It is so freaking easy to lead when it's nice and it's good and things are working. When things aren't working, great leaders find a way. They make up a way. They share a way. They jump in and they say, here is the way. And so who do you want to be on the other side of this, so that you can really, truly inspire others, and that who you're going to be is a huge thing. So I want to pause because I've been saying a ton through all of this. I want to ask you guys if any of this is helpful. And if so, please, you expand a little bit, talk about what struck you or what's helpful or what's not about this. I would love to have you guys jump in just so I pause a little bit before I go on.
I love the piece about being of service. Oops.
Karen, why don't you go? And then I think Celestine, you were the next one.
Being of service, not selling, giving myself away, providing a service for people. People are in crisis mode and they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having them have a vehicle to express that and to be with that and to maybe turn some of that around into energy that is more positive or action oriented is, you know, the thing that's needed.
Love it. Write down a to-do for yourself. I'm going to encourage you on what are you going to do with that? So it's not just an insight. Write down, like, what can I do about that? So when you get off the call, there is a mechanism to say, I'm going to go take this and do something about that, and I'm going to test it. And I'm going to come back and make it better if that didn't work, or I'm going to do it again if it did. and who's
Right.
next?
Right. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. 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 Celestine.
Wednesday morning was a big turning point for me because I was very much at the effect of all of the facts and the information from, I listened to a lot of people on a lot of different platforms, from a lot of different points of view. So I felt like there was so much headed my way and it immobilized me. So fight, flight, or freeze, and I was in full blown like freeze mode. And what turned me around was deciding who I wanted to be. And what unstuck me or got me moving was I decided no one gets to steal my peace, and I'm not going to give it away. And as soon as I said that, that just changed everything. And then I taught a yoga class, and I was like, I can ground people. I'm good at that. And then that shift of like, nah, information coming my way from whoever, you're not going to steal my peace. I'm not going to give it away. And I can give the gift of grounding people. And those two things, I mean, super simple. I didn't leave my house. I didn't go make any more money. I didn't spend any more money. There wasn't a windfall of like nothing. I was in my kitchen. And then I walked to my yoga studio, and that's the distance. But the inside part is what shifted the most. The way of being shifted, the decision shifted. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to record a yoga class. I'm just going to send it to everybody. And here we go. And since then, it's been a daily of not going to give my peace away, and who can I ground? And then I've just been, and sometimes I'm the only one I can ground. Sometimes I need it the most, and then I can give it to other people, and that's been working.
I love it. I would coach you just because I have, if you're open to it. Remove your not. Not going to give my peace away. What your brain's hearing is, I'm going to give my peace away. So it's how do I accelerate my peace? How do I expand my peace? How do I extend my peace? But find a forward word, because your brain does not work on knots. You know that one. So I want you to keep your peace, maintain it, accelerate it, exaggerate it, expand it, dive into it. I don't really care, but don't knot it.
Yes, for sure. So yesterday I did, I don't know if you've heard of Psyche, any of you, but I did a Psyche session with a friend of mine, and she was helping me shift. And one of the balances that we did was I am safe within myself. And that felt like peace. So what I can do is toss out my other one. It worked on Wednesday, and I can reform it because it's Monday. So why not?
Exactly. And it's just a tweak. It's a tweak. It's not a throw it out. It's just a tweak. One word. Awesome.
Yeah, well, the I'm safe within myself worked really well, and I viscerally felt this. It's like cool air, like it was really lovely. And I noticed within my visceral experience, if I have like hot air that's like rising, then I can go, I'm safe within myself, and then the cool air comes back and everything comes back down again.
Nice metaphor.
And it worked. So,
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you for the help.
Awesome. All right, Mayanna. God, I'm going to get
Yes.
that today. It's not that hard.
So it's Diana with an M. That's a way to remember it.
Oh, thank you. I needed that.
It took me a
I
really long
really
time to
needed
figure that out.
But that's good.
so-
You're helping me out.
Yeah, no worries. So one thing that you said really resonated with me. One of the leadership values that I have is making a difference. That's important to me with each employee, but also every project and, you know, everything that we're putting effort into. And when you said, who can I serve and how can I help? I, like you, am also feeling like I'm sort of thriving in this new environment, because that is the only thing that matters right now, is actually serving other people, whether it's professional or personal, and making a difference. And so that really resonated with me, and I can tie it directly back to that value that is so important to me. And I think especially in a corporate environment, there is a lot in motion at any given time, and sometimes you don't always feel like you're making a difference, and you don't always feel like you're actually helping anybody or moving anything forward. And this sort of clears away the clutter and gets everybody really focused on, okay, let's, as a team, how can we do something that is helpful to our customer, helpful to each other? And so it feels good right now to be able to focus on that. And that really, I think, when I was talking about the new team at the beginning and the kind of how everyone's coming together, I think that's really the point of connection that everyone has, is, wow, we're in this very interesting new world that, you know, it could feel scary, but what can we do that moves things forward together as a team, while also recognizing this, you know, interesting environment that we are all now thrust into at home at the same time, and finding that that point of connection, whether it's positive or challenging. I think that the idea of coming together to make a difference is really powerful.
I love it. Love it. Love it. I've got a funny one for you. Do you guys have huddles, Myanna?
We do. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're doing them daily, if you guys haven't already done this, for those who have children or pets or spouses or significant others at home, either at the end of the day, which is usually the funniest time to do this, have everyone share about their coworker, whomever that might be, but use the word coworker. Yes. We did that as a verbal, not just as like a Facebook post. Oh my God. It was the funniest commentary ever. And it can just be some levity at the end of the day or the beginning of the day to start to get into those deeper conversations, you know, because I do think we have to, one of the next questions is, where can I find joy? Where can I create it? Where can I be a cause for? Where can I be an impetus of it? Because that is so necessary. So if you've heard it, use it again. Use it again. My coworker jumped on the webinar and burped into the microphone. My bulldog's very good at that. So he may make an appearance. I hope not. He's snoring in the background right now. He's my coworker today. So Jess, thank you, Myanna.
Yeah, I was just actually taking some notes. I loved these questions, and as usual, it just gives me a moment to pause. And I love that you were also like, what are the actions you're going to take away from this phone call? So for me, it's, and I really do appreciate also that you were talking about your friend who was 2 weeks into it is going, I finally know how to make this work, because I've had that same pressure. Like, it's not like I worked from home all the time, but it was certainly something I was doing occasionally. And so then I've been a little frustrated, like, why is this not feeling like it should? And I actually have rearranged a lot of things in my desk, specifically like, this has to work for me. And now it's going back to that question, what is working as far as my daily structure and routine and my desk space, and like really evaluating from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, what is working, whether it's at work, personal, home, relationships. And then I love the question of, who do I want to be when this is over? And, you know, the action for me from that is, how am I spending my time? What are the habits that I have currently that are supporting that person who I want to be? And what are the habits that I want to change, or incorporating new ones? But at the same time, like, this is a great time to sort of, you know, take those habits and just say, I'm going to change everything, and I'm going to start working out 3 hours a day and drinking 3 gallons of water. And I also know that's not realistic, you know, no more realistic than it is for me to have had my workspace set up for me to be working here permanently for the next month or so. And so, but I love these questions, and those are some of the actions of just reflecting on what is working, what are the habits that I've got in place, what do I need to change, And who do I really want to be when this is over? And how do I set myself up for that now? Or begin to taking those baby steps.
I love it. And you know, the structure at home is a really big deal for people. I find myself saying this on every call I get on with teams because, again, for people like me who are entrepreneurs, I thrive in the unknown. So throw me into chaos and I'm the person going, that can go and this goes with it. And that's the fun of it. For people who are typically employees, they're going, what's the structure? How do I adapt? How do I flex? How do I maximize it? So you come with a whole different prescriptive lens into the room, if you will. So to me, one of the things I did was a series of videos last week that Jess has posted, and I believe they're on Facebook. They're probably on LinkedIn. They should be at this point, but they're just 10-minute little videos, but I'll show you guys because you're here. If you can see that whiteboard over there, it usually has client info. And if I could get my camera to go way further, I would. I think I can get it a decent amount. Forgive me while I'm watching the screen here. But if you can see that, whoops, turning it the wrong way. All right. So if you look, it was, you know, the focus is on what you can do, but then I talked about the structure I need at work, the structure I need for myself, and the structure I need for my family and home, because they're all different. They're all different needs. And I had a normal, and I kind of liked what it was, right? I didn't say, wow, I'd love to disrupt 100% of all of that. But for each of us to be able to walk through that and say, what's the structure that has me thrive, be at my best? And there's a whole series for work around the relationships you have, the projects in your to-do lists, the daily prioritization, which we're all in this weird place where you can have this hot list. Oh, just put in the group chat, just so you know, here are the videos if you want them, and please circulate them. And if you like them, please review it. That's one of the nicest things you could do for us if it's useful to you. But you know, that reprioritization, like what was burning this morning, by the end of the day, some days is not even important. It's going in the nice to have list. It's still important, but now there's these new things. And I think we're all in that, the decks being reshuffled quite frequently. So how do you get this, you know, again, and get practices and enough structure where you have a space in your home down to, do you have a space that is just workspace? If you don't, you've got to. And there are hours to that. The other thing that I've been saying that we've gotten huge feedback on is every single hour, take your phone and set an alarm, because we're in front of a screen, maybe more than we're used to. At least for me, it's way more, because I'm used to being in rooms with people all day, every day. So this is still a room with people to me, but it's a screen. And it's different to my eyes and my head and my neck and shoulders. And I fortunately have a treadmill desk because I'm a hyperactive human. So I've already got 4 miles in on that today. I'll probably have 8 by the end of the day, because you can walk up to 2 miles an hour. And I do that while I'm on here. But every hour on the hour, set an alarm, get up, take 7 minutes. Don't do anything. That's where you do your bio break. You get a snack, you let the dog out, you come back, boom, another 53 minutes, take another break. Once an hour, I am telling you what, it will keep you sharp all day. It will be a game changer. And too many people try and like drone in and go harder and longer. And then you get done at the end of the day and you're like, I can't think of another thing. And then what do? You open up social media to get info, or you turn on the tube. And that's one more form. And that's why we're so fatigued, is we have got to give our eyes and our brains a break from visual stimulus that's exactly like this. So it's just a physical, what do you do about that? And, you know, looking at finance personally and professionally, too many people got their heads in the sand right now. I'm telling you, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. What do you have that's liquid, and how do you have proactive conversations about what you might need to do long-term, short-term? It's not being a doom and gloomer. It's being proactive and having plans. In the absence of info, we have to get a foundation to make good choices and ask good questions. And then we have at least, oh, that's my default setting. I'm going to start there instead of now what do I do now that it's happening? And then on the personal side, there's a ton on self-care. You got to do like up the amp. As Jess said, you know, no, are you going to change it 500%? Maybe this void provides that opportunity, but you aren't going to do it all the first day. And there's a great book called Atomic Habits that I keep throwing out to everybody. If you have not read it, this is the time to read it, because it's about how do you take from where you are and turn it into habitual practice making kind of stuff that will stick, sustainability. You know, where can you laugh? What makes you laugh? Find some of that every day. Start and finish your day. Enjoy. If you do that, it changes things. What's going well? Again, what's working, what's going well, those go together. And here's a good one, I think, because we're less creative and resourceful when we're too on the solving of problems. I think one is very left-brained and one is very free and creative. So we're solving problems like crazy right now as parents, as coworkers, as friends, as daughters, as, you know, every role you have. What have you wanted to do and haven't yet done and could take a step toward realizing? What have you always, or what have you wanted to do that you haven't yet done that you could take a step toward realizing? It doesn't say like get all the way there. It's just what could you take a step toward? Me, I've wanted to play drums. I started taking drum lessons. We now have a drum set up. My husband used to be a drummer, so he's actually, this was already in our home. But we also got our room finally rearranged. This is something that we moved into our home a year and a half ago so that we can do, he can run on his treadmill. I don't run. I'm not a runner. I have a Pilates machine and I have a drum set. That is going to be the rec room, but it's now functional. It's not done, but it's functional. So I can use it. That is necessary for my well-being right now. So that's my challenge to you guys on here is what have you wanted to do that you haven't yet done that you could take a step toward? And you'll be surprised at what doors open for you, you know, that starts to be like, oh, there's candy in this problem. That's good. And then the last and most important on this questions, and then I want to talk about anything that's unfinished and actions you're going to take out of this is who and what am I grateful for? And then tell them. And starting and ending your day with gratitude. But the reason the blog is called Tell Them is so that we do. You can't just keep it to yourself. Right now, people are, as Karen put so well, you know, in a state of fear more than they're in a state of resourcefulness and creativity. How do you be that light where somebody goes, gosh, thanks. You know, I needed to hear that I was doing all right or that I helped today, because that gave me a little gas in the tank to keep going. So that's my last one on that one. And now none of you have to read that blog whatsoever, because that's a whole thing. So what have we not gotten into? Let's see. We now also, this is my final other little thing. We don't have a commute. You got that time back. Don't give it all to work. Use that time for you. Claim it all. Hog it up. Use it for you. What can you do for yourself? And if that's 20 minutes for your commute, great. If you didn't get a commute back, then you already had that time. You need to allocate some. If you got an hour to 2 hours back, don't just throw it in the slush fund, because you will erode it away every day. How do you claim it for you and the things that make you the best you can be? Because honestly, when you do that, the rest of this, you know what to do. So from all of you, did you get what you need? If not, ask so we can make sure we get to that. What are you taking away, and what will you do as a result of this call?
I'll go.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm definitely inspired. I knew that I would be listening to you, Sue. This is great. I never thought about some of the communities of people that I am involved with. Regular classes that I take. It's like, you know what? Plus those people already speak my language. And if there are any folks in that world that could use someone to talk to about whatever it might be, maybe it's just, community building on Zoom, to put myself out there. And that's an easy one because that's safe. That's a safe audience for me.
Love it.
Right. And that's a great way for me to get started now. I can do that. Yeah.
Awesome. So did you get what you needed?
Yes, I did.
Fabulous.
Thank
So
you very much.
we're going to hear about this great new Fearless coach.
And I think that you just named my company too. The 2 words. Yes.
I
Oh my
like
gosh,
2
Sue.
words. I
You
like
want
2
to-
words.
Yeah. Am I going to need to pay you for that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. The world is abundant. You can take my dumb ideas and twist them any way you want. Happy to help.
Thanks.
Don't count on me for your next ad idea, though. They're very random. They show up sometimes. I'm glad it worked. Awesome. Well, thank you, Karen. Myanna,
Yeah, thank you.
see how well you coached me? Now I don't even have to think.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it took me until 6 years ago to figure that out.
That was great.
So for me, just seeing how you kind of organized your thoughts into the work, the personal, or the self-care and family, I also think that way. And I've been really, I'll say regimented since being forced into this home work environment, to really make sure that I'm doing all of that in each day. And what I'm realizing now is I have shared it, I'll say loosely with my team and with others, but I haven't been as, I'll say, formal about like, here's some advice for you. That doesn't come naturally to me to say, here's something I'm doing that I know is going to work for you. And I think that it could help some. And so for me, I think just being more overt about sharing, hey, here's what I do each day that feels good, that is helpful, and I'm carving out time for each of these 3 areas. That I think that could help some, that it just doesn't come as naturally to, and I just need to be braver about sharing unsolicited advice, I think is really my takeaway.
Well, and if I can coach a little bit into that, you don't even have to share it as advice. You can say, if it would be helpful, I've got some structural stuff that I'd love to share. Or if you really don't want to do it that way, you can say, hey, there's this crazy person I sat on this call and they shared these videos. Maybe there's something in there you can use, because I literally zoomed in on the list and just said, think about this stuff. But whatever way you can disseminate it, what I would do with you right now is ask you to not think about it as advice, and think about it more as, you might have skills that somebody else complement someone else's. And so it's like, this could be useful to you, take it or leave it. Right?
Yeah, that's great.
Trust that. If you're on it, it's like, do it, because people are struggling right now with this. If you're not naturally someone who loves this, you will be like an angel in their world for real. So awesome. Did you get what you needed? Is that helpful?
Yeah, definitely.
Fab.
Good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Celestine, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. Do it again if it's helpful.
I love a few things that I've realized. One of my big takeaways is the structure of asking that question, like, what structure do I need? And then, y'all saw on Friday, I have my whiteboard in the kitchen. So I think I'm going to section it out into those 3 and add on to the other 2 that I'm already working on. And I'm also learning from you, Sue, and from all of you ladies today, actually, the power of being decisive and just saying, I choose. And then I love, Sue, you're like fire and a kick in the ass at the same time. Like, this is what I decided, here I go. And I have a tendency, this is something we work from home is teaching me more about, is a lot of habits that I have. And I tend to want to line everything up very analytically, and then think about the whole thing all the way through to the very end, and then get freaked out and sit down and do nothing. So I'm learning that it's an accidental, powerful habit that I have. So now that I can see it very clearly, because Sue is like fire and a kick in the ass, I'm like, oh, that's a very different way of being. Okay, cool. That is way cool. And I appreciate being able to see, it's a compliment, by the way, compliment.
I'll remember that.
And the other, it's just showing me a lot of other things. Some that I like my ability to be able to, because a lot of what I do is very physical, I can identify a physical feeling very quickly and be able to verbalize it in a way that will land with other people. And I didn't know that I had that skill until like the last, 48 hours or so.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to make a list of all of my clients going back as far as I have their information, and just call them and be like, hi, how are you? Do you want to do some yoga? Do you want to breathe, meditate? What would you like coaching on? And just gift and get excited about how many people I can reach.
Mm-hmm.
I think my former thought around that would be, oh, I would be bothering them. Or it might be a sales thing, and I dislike the sales thing so very much. And so if I frame it with how many people can I get excited about helping and gifting, and I'm even clearer with my skill set. So whiteboard, half of it, the structure, get clearer on that. Make a list of the people as far back and just call. And if they answer, yay. If they don't answer, fine. If they still don't respond later, okay. And just go, all right, let's just try the next
They
thing.
might be slaying some dragons. So, again, everybody's in the fire of this at different times. And so what you might find is call, text, email, depending on how they are receptive. And some of them don't have capacity at certain times, to your point. There's a lot changing, and different industries are in the thick of this at different times for work, and I just find my manufacturing people can't find enough people to work, and they're working 6 days a week, and they're reinventing how to work 6 feet apart. And I'm sure Marvin sees this, like we can't just stop working. And some of them who are in the sanitation world are, I have one who does emergency cleaning and such. Well, they're out of the roof busy, and they can't get equipment, and they can't get supplies, because guess what? The supply chain is shutting down and materials aren't available. So we think it's just what's stopping. And there's also this other side of all of what the need is. And so that catalytic, how are the opportunities presenting themselves? They're going to respond when they can. So don't just offer once. You might come back at the perfect moment when they have a minute and they say, Celestine, thank you. I need to just talk to someone right now, and you are the perfect answer. So non-attachment, this is a time for that. Help first. Your success is in direct proportion to the number of people you help. It'll work. It'll work. Help people, help people. Miss Jess, bring us home.
Yeah, so I when I leave here, I'm really going to be evaluating today what is working, what habits do I actually just ordered. I have a couple of other books on habits, but Atomic Habit is on its way by tomorrow at 9 p.m. from Amazon, because they're still working.
They're
so that's
still
good.
working.
Yeah. My fingers and my credit card. Right? Exactly. But I also love the question about what have you wanted to do that you haven't done that you can take some steps forward. So 2 thoughts came to mind. I have a guitar that I know how to play, but I haven't played in a long time. So I'm going to pull that sucker out, which should be interesting since I can't get my nails done, but we'll figure it out too.
That, along with
and
hair color, is a very unique set of challenges for most
it
of
is,
us.
yeah. And I'm not going to complain about it. First world problems.
Yeah.
And I also have wanted to do some reorganization and some simplifying of the space that I live in. And I love that project. It actually gets me excited because it's always energizing and I can do it in little bits and pieces. It's not like I have to make a huge mess. I just pick. My bookshelf's right here in case you couldn't tell.
We
That's where I'm
couldn't, but
picking
now
first.
we know. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I sincerely appreciate all of you for being on here. I hope this has been helpful. If so, please share it with other people what we are going to do to simplify our world from doing these. We have one more Wednesday this week, so if it's of use for you or anyone else, please join us again. They're all different. They morph based on who's on here. We've had 20 people on. We've had the 5 of us, I think is probably the smallest we've had. But please come back if it's useful. And share the word if it is. We're going to start doing them once a week. We'll send that out and let you know. We were going to do Monday, Motivation Monday, and then we thought, you know, Mondays are hard because it seems like everybody's coming back and getting that influx. So we might do them Tuesday, but if you have any feedback on that, we're very open and willing and want to get these so they matter and they're useful. And if they are, let us know so we can make them better and improve them and offer them in a way that they're helpful to you. So info in the group chat. Thank you. Have a fabulous week. Make it fabulous. And I appreciate you all being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Nice
You
to
bet.
talk to everybody.
My pleasure.